right, welcome to season 2, episode 2. I just learned that we have seasons now on Experience.This, but this is the Experience.This podcast. My name is Christian Watts with Magpie.
Hey everyone, I'm Lori Timony with Go City.
And Bruce Rosard, your third host. I'm with Arrival.
Today we are going to go through these lists. Always confuse me because people always do these lists of top 10 things from 23 going into 24, and I never know if this is what happened or it's about to happen or what these lists mean. So let's start with the definition, Bruce, since you love definitions of everything. So what we're going to go through your list today, a top 10 of something. What is the something?
Yeah, I did this December 2021. It was the end of 2021. What are the top themes and trends going into 22? Then I did it at the end of 22. And what did I see as the top trends at the end of 22? But what really would dominate 23? Although I definitely made a big mistake on one of those. And then now at the end of 23, what do I think are the top trends right now that are going to dominate going forward into 24? And to clarify, this is in the experiences industry. I'm not talking mega trends and things like, oh, India is going to be bigger than China for outbound and Japan's going to be the #1 Asia inbound. I'm really talking about just general overall trends in the in-destination experiences industry.
Excellent. So you got 10. So let's go through them in reverse order. I know Laurie hasn't got long today, so let's kind of go through them quite quickly. And then we're going to tell you why you're wrong, or if you're wrong, or maybe you've got a couple right. Let's see. So what's your number 10?
So my number 10 in 2021 was timed ticketing and attractions tech. That was new back then. We're now looking at what was happening during the pandemic. In 22, that went to attractions tech because time ticketing kind of became the norm. Now I'm out of attractions tech totally, although I do have something regarding attractions lower down, number 6 actually, that we'll talk about. And I'm at outdoors rules. Outdoors was number 7 last year, the year before number 7, but I'm putting it at 10 now because I have a few things that have pushed it. It's got to be on the list. Outdoors does rule, will always rule. It's still a remaining trend where people are spending more money on experiences that are outdoors.
So we'll post your previous lists, but we can't go back 3 years.
All right, you don't want me to do that. All right, you don't care about the past.
We'll be here rules for a while.
What does that? What does outdoor rules mean?
It really just means that more people are spending more money and time on experiences that are outdoors.
I'm happy with that. I think it goes along with the experiences versus things, and I think people started to appreciate the outdoors more during COVID, and I think that continues for me. Seems fair.
It's a very light one, if you ask me. I'm not overwhelmed by that. I think actually there are a few of the 10 that you've identified that really could be almost one, and then you break them into subcategories like you did with AI. So I think that when it comes to things like outdoor travel, it's part of an overall trend that we see with the long tail of travel. So interest-driven travel, destination-driven travel, segment-driven travel, those all come together as like one movement or trend towards more unique experiences. Immersive experiences in the same bucket, really, as like outdoor
all right,
travel.
Let's go there. Keep going. So number 9 is immersive experiences. Keep going.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is I think that I'm not sure they're necessarily a separate trend as much as they are part of one trend where consumers are really wanting to experience something other than what they have in the past. Okay, they're not necessarily just looking for the visit to Empire State Building. They want to go do some kind of crazy food tour like the Sandwich Man's tour, or they want to go do, exploring and doing a safari, or they want to get into community-based travel. It's just a movement, I think, towards this whole lifestyle travel that we are seeing now. So I guess I think it's kind of part of the same bucket.
That's fair.
I
Christian?
agree with that. So I agree with that. I do question this trend, if it's something that we just talk about more, or if it's real. I'm not saying the trend isn't there for this for experiencing, but I think it's somewhat overblown, and I think sometimes media companies need something to talk about, and let's all bring this in.
I think it's real. Okay, Viator just released their top 24 things to do in 2024. All they are tours and food tours, immersive experiences, getting away from it all, off the beaten path. It's all that.
Well,
Anything you would see.
I'm delighted that you bought into their PR, Laurie. That's fantastic. I'd like to
I
see
didn't
what people
say I
book.
bought into it, but what I do, if they're going to take up space selling it, there has to be a reason for it. That's all I'm saying.
What do you want them to publish? Empire State Building, Eiffel Tower, Tower London. They're trying to be interesting. So you publish stuff it's like Lonely Planet every year.
Are you saying, Christian, that immersive experiences are not a trend? That
No.
and that alone, and you could read the article, and it means everything from Meow Wolf and what that is like once you walk into that amazing place, to being immersed in a community like Laurie was talking about, and really feeling the community and the authenticity of that community, etc. How can that not be a trend of what has been happening over the last few years and will only continue to grow?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a trend. I do agree. We do have a million food tours now, and Meow Wolf and all those, and those absolutely are a trend. I think sometimes it gets overblown. I don't think people have stopped going to the Eiffel Tower and they're going to those instead. I think that we have more travelers. We have more travelers now. So I think those have now found their own segment, and the Eiffel Tower is still doing just fine. So
right,
I agree it is a trend.
Without pissing anyone off in New York City, are they going to the Empire State Building, getting on an elevator and going up to the 100th floor? Or are they going to Summit One Vanderbilt, where they can go up to the 95th floor, and it's really an immersive experience during those top 5 floors?
They're going to both. They're going to both. I mean,
and
they
because
are.
you sell both, right?
I mean, they are going to both, for sure. And there's different people for different experiences. I mean, some people, like, you go to New York, if you've never been before, you're going to the Empire State Building. You want to see it. It's on your bucket list.
Yep.
But I completely understand what you're saying. What I do think is happening is the iconics are now trying to differentiate themselves in other ways. So here's a really good example of that. The Top of the Rock, which has been around for years, obviously, now has brand new rides that just opened, where you can sit on the beam, that's iconic beam that you've seen a million pictures of, and it lifts you up and turns you around. And so anyway, that's one of the things they're doing, but they're doing a number of things that are trying to differentiate themselves and add a more immersive experience to what's an iconic attraction. Right. And I do think that's happening quite a bit.
I know you're on a short clock, Laurie. So let's move on.
Yeah.
So number 8 on my list is DEI and sustainability, which happens to be in the news a lot right now, sitting here in early January. I don't want to get into the politics of it. And my main point on this is I don't think the industry is doing enough. I should say I know the industry is not doing enough on DEI and sustainability. It's a lot of talk, especially on sustainability. And, 80% of travelers would pay more for a more sustainable travel experience. Well, that's what they say on surveys, but that's not what they pay to do. But I think it has to be on the list to keep it top of mind and to keep pushing. So that's why I have it there.
I got two things to say. One is I think it's terrible to have them both on the same line item. They always get lumped in together, and I think that takes away from both. I just don't think that's good at all, because they're completely different topics.
That's true. No, I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's a hot topic now with politics, and it's not going in the right direction for a lot of the conversations, which is also part of the reason why they need to be split. Because if one of these plummets and becomes not favorable this year, let's not have sustainability go down with the ship.
True.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways you can dice up DEI and sustainability. You know, you can talk about promoting local communities, which is technically part of DEI. Is it part of sustainability? It gets lumped into sustainability for sure. But, you know, so, and then there's a lot of people that justify, well, I'm not going to spend extra money, but I will go to a local community. And am I supporting that local community? Yeah, you are. But then that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Christian. So I agree. I think you have to separate it. But I also agree that you're right. It's a super important part of the conversation that needs to be there.
It is a top 10. So I was challenged, you know, first you guys are saying, well, this thing outdoors really is three things. This thing, DEI and sustainability, I purposely put together because I only had 10. Although I did cheat.
So you tried to squeeze it in, Bruce.
I did.
That why?
Yeah.
Just like
I did. Yeah.
Typical.
Okay. Number 7, less trips, more experiences. This comes really right from our research at Arrival that we're learning that people are taking less trips. They're spending more money on those trips, and they're taking more experiences when they do those trips. So that's what that's for.
A lot of these, I'm not questioning your survey, but somebody posted something today about data, and maybe I'm just getting old and crotchety, but there's so much bad data out there with spending more money. But we've had 20% inflation over the last 3 years, not per year, but over the last 3 years, we're 25% up on pre-COVID. And a lot of these surveys we're spending 25% more money now. So there's simple things like that, which that actually is the same.
It's very interesting because then there's another trend that I think is important to consider, and that's the whole luxury market, right? That it's increasing and it's still predicted to increase next year about 7 to 10%, whatever. More people or people spending more money, which kind of goes back to some of those tour operators that are now like offering private tours or tours that are smaller that you have to spend more money for. But plenty of people saying that people are spending it, you know, and people that have money are spending it going to these, you know, hotels that offer baked in experiences, yoga, wellness, all this kind of thing. So it seems like that's happening.
Hello, it's Marika from the Von Mack Agency here with your Tourism Marketing Half Minute. Let's get a little experimental today. Take a moment to think about the last time your marketing team spent time in discovery. Was it yesterday? Or maybe never? While it may seem silly to attribute resources to the unknown, it is an important element of getting ahead. So keep on trend and ask your marketing team to secret shop your competitors and brainstorm from it. Or do some guerrilla marketing, maybe even fully embrace TikTok. Experiments like these always tend to deliver something, from great nuggets of info to great fun.
You know, a couple things. One, yes, you are a crotchety old man, Christian. We know that. You've been anti-research for as long as pretty much I've known you. But you make a really good point about inflation when you say things have increased in price, you know, by 20%. Well, so has inflation or whatever. That's pretty interesting. The whole point here, less trips, more experiences, is more experiences. The average tour now for a family includes 7 experiences. That's a lot. So the bottom line is there's a lot of people doing a lot of experiences, and that was the whole point on this one. Yeah. Let's move on to my number 6, dynamic pricing. So where I used to talk about tech for attractions, I'm now narrowing it down to dynamic pricing. I think that is so hot and still very hard and challenging for even the biggest attractions. But it's only going to get bigger and bigger and probably go higher up on the list as we get through the next couple of years.
Yeah,
Lori,
I agree.
You talk to attractions every day. What do you think?
No, I 100% agree with you. I think that that, you know, even the bigger attractions, you know, they're all moving towards dynamic pricing, a lot of them. But at the same time, they also recognize that they need a solution for businesses that can't take dynamic pricing, right? So the resellers that can't take dynamic pricing, it's always going to be a tricky thing when you work with other businesses versus just sell B2C. So most of them have a B2C solution, which is dynamic, and the other one, B2B, tends to be more static pricing. And I think most of them have now kind of come to a place where they understand that, and they are, that's how they're building their strategy and their numbers going forward. But yeah, it's a thing. It's here to stay, I think.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I'm delighted that we're not having a discussion on the definition, because that always winds me up. There's static and there's non-static, and non-static I'm calling dynamic. But I think there's so much value there on all sides of the economy, especially for the operator. I think dynamic pricing has to be the way forwards, and I agree with everything Laurie said. It's an important topic, and it's going to keep being so.
And the key really is that the operator can do it, the bigger operators can do it, but still the challenge is getting the OTAs to ingest it, or the OTAs and other distributors to ingest it and make it really work. I was actually talking to an OTA yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, we can do it. I'm like, okay, do you? So
yeah.
But I think once that happens more effectively, and we were even talking about whether Octo plays a role in that. And right now, I don't think it does. That's going to become more and more important. And right now, it's for the big guys. Maybe that will start to get down to at least the medium-sized companies as well.
Yeah, and absolutely, Octo has a role. I mean, Octo's got dynamic pricing built into it. So this is actually one of the good things about Octo is when companies start trying to adopt things like dynamic pricing, rather than have 200 resellers make their own version of it. Now they've got a version they could just use off the shelf. So This is where Octo comes into its own, where it's been done for you, and just adopt that, because the operators are already on that standard. This is what should make it happen much quicker than it would have done without.
Dynamic pricing becomes a big effort for Octo in the coming year.
Yeah.
Number 5, OTAs continue to dominate growth.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Didn't get a lot of feedback on that. And a lot of what that goes to is really there's 3 big OTAs. I mean, 2 would probably argue 4. But Klook just announced $210 million, bringing them to almost $1 billion of fundraising. Get Your Guide recently announced $194 million with a valuation of $2 billion. Viator doesn't have to raise money since they're part of TripAdvisor and a public company, but they are announcing that they're reaching over $1 billion of gross bookings per quarter. I mean, those are big numbers happening in our industry, and they're only growing. And I think that's really significant, even though there's still a small overall percentage of the overall business being done in our business.
Yeah, I actually think that, and this is kind of, a little bit off topic or in addition to the conversation, but I think one of the things we should talk about at some point is non-OTA, right? Where else is the business coming from for experience providers? And there are some significant pieces of business that we can talk about that are not OTAs, but we do talk about OTAs all the time. In any case, I agree with you that OTAs are stealing the show, and probably will continue to for 2024.
Well, just Cruise. I mean, Cruise created experiences 30 or 40, 50 years ago, right? And I wonder what that volume is. So that could be, a topic. Travel agents, I mean, there's people trying, not so much. There's the guys on the streets of New York hawking ho-hos, right? Probably in San Francisco, selling tickets on the streets. No,
it's not what it was. That all that market's gone down. Is that not just OTAs are taken out, but anything in advance, right? It's so easy to book a ticket now on your mobile phone. That street's definitely down overall.
Yeah,
I think.
I know, Lori, we're going to lose you to your next.
Yep. I'm going to jump off in a second, but I wanted to just say one thing, and this would be kind of in also tie into your comment saying that follow the money was not something that you included here, because you didn't see that happening in 2024. And I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think that I think companies have spent the last year really kind of cleaning up their financial house, and I think what we're going to start to see in 2024 is more consolidation. So I do think there's going to be acquisitions. I think we're going to see consolidation, but I think we're going to see more movement here than maybe.
In what segments, Lori? Like, do you mean
about
res tech, like we saw last year, OTA,
I think it'll be I think it'll
operators?
be the experience industry in general. So res tech, OTAs potentially. It could be other distribution companies that we'll be seeing. But yeah, I do think we'll start to see more of that. Maybe it'll be more on the res tech side.
Bruce, since that's becoming my theme today, at least, is some OTAs have this pitch that whatever the number is, if it's 25% booked online or 30%, whatever that number is, right? That there's a natural, we're going to go from there to 100, that everything has to go online. And I get that's part of a pitch. It's a great pitch. Hey, 25% of the industry is booked online. That means we can grow by 4x. But the 75% is, a lot of it is stuff that may never be booked online, and that's fine. Like a restaurant, we don't talk about restaurants becoming all online. A restaurant's a place you walk in and you buy your food after you've eaten it. And same as a lot of
an unofficial
attractions.
restaurant that is going to be booked for weeks or months in advance.
So you book it online. But yeah, fine, you book a reservation. But the zoo, right? Unless it's a really popular zoo and it sells out, I don't know if any are. It's still a place you just kind of rock up in the morning.
Unless it's time
pay
ticketing.
at the entrance. Yeah, but my point is we won't get to 100%, and that's fine. Maybe we'll get to 50, but we're not gonna do 4x booked online.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, let's go to number 4, Ron? Number 4.
Number 4, experiences driving destination choice. Again, this is something from Arrival Research where it's a really clear change. People used to say, okay, where do you want to go on vacation, Christian? Let's go to Rome. And we book our flight and we book our hotel. And then we get to Rome and we decide what we want to do, right? Or as we get closer to going to Rome, we decide what we want to do. It's really flipping on its head now. Hey, Christian, what do you want to do on vacation? Let's go scuba diving. And so now we know we want to go scuba diving. Let's talk about where we want to go scuba diving. So experiences driving destination choice. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm going to go along with my theme, and I think it's something that's overdone. I think it's something that's actually always been there, but because of the way we're marketed, I don't say marketed to, but because of the way marketing happens today, let's talk about Instagram. You see the experience first. You see the Iceland. Iceland kind of came about because of Instagram. Sorry, Icelandic folk, but that was what drove that market. So I think it's always been there. I think instead of having a list of top 10 destinations, we've got a list of experiences, but it's just the way that we see marketing now. We see a snippet of 30 seconds of an experience more than a list of destinations offered by a travel agent. So I get it. I'm not trying to push back too hard, but I think there is a degree to that's a nice subject to talk about, but it's always been there.
It's always been there. So it's not that you don't believe it. It's that you think it's not a trend. It's just always been there.
Yeah, you could have said 50 years ago, I want to go hiking or let's go to Nepal. That was always a thing. People always chose an experience, and you want to go and do the food. You want to go and do some food experiences. Let's go to Italy. But you knew that was why you were going to Italy in the first place, because I enjoy food experiences. So I think it's positioned that way more, which is good marketing. So where you should be.
I want to go see Taylor Swift or Bruce Springsteen, probably Springsteen. Although I love Taylor Swift too. At least I love her story more than her music. So because of that, I'm going to say, oh, where are they playing? And I'll go there. Or I want to go see the Nuggets beat the Warriors. So I'm going to plan a trip to San Francisco.
Let's move on from that disaster. What was it? 17 points down? I don't know what happened.
17 points down with 6 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're wrong on that, right? Bruce Springsteen, you're an old guy. You were watching him 40 years ago. You've always done that. The difference now is maybe you can afford to fly somewhere to go and see him, or you can afford to go for the weekend. But this old Taylor Swift, I love Taylor Swift as well, but it's not a new thing to go and watch somebody at a concert, to go to a place to watch a concert. Maybe what's new is that more people have money, and these kids have money from their parents or themselves, and they can now fly for the weekend because they can't get tickets anywhere else locally. But it's not new that people
I
go to
never got
concerts.
on an airplane to go see Bruce Springsteen. Now I was in Philly, so he would come a lot. But I think it is different when people are, I want to go do X and I got to go there to do it. And then back to the whole scuba diving, skiing, golfing. I know I want to go skiing. Where do I want to go skiing this year? Right.
You said that 40 years ago. Come on, that's not new.
That's true. That's true. Okay, let's move on. Number 3, and this was number 2 last year. I don't think it was even in the year before that, but it's been hot for a long time now. But just in the last couple of years, so not really long time. Short form video.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the research, the surveys, the data. I mean, TikTok's there, isn't it? And Instagram Reels is now, I guess, mostly video. So yeah, of course, that's the way people are discovering travel.
Okay, so basically, you can't disagree with that one.
Yeah, finally. Now, I've been fairly agreeable. I just like to pick out little pieces of each one that I don't like.
No, that's fair. And really, YouTube Shorts, I think, is the unsung hero of short form video.
Yeah,
and it's something I want to pay a lot more attention to. I think right now it's so much TikTok and then Insta stories, YouTube, and then Facebook. Even Facebook gets more video views than Instagram stories does,
really?
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2, one of your favorite topics. I'm going to let you name it without even knowing it. It is
number 2. If it's not AI, well, no, I forgot what number 2 is.
Google Things to Do.
Oh, Google Things to Do. Yeah.
Which was number 1 last year.
Yeah. Well, it grew a lot over the last 12 months. I mean, it's only 2.5 years old now. A year ago, it went on to Maps. Now it's all over search. It just opened up to language on search this week. A lot more categories now that have been included. It's got a lot broader the last few weeks, actually. They're going to keep. It looks like they're going to keep going. It's expanding, and it's just covering more real estate, which is what it's all about. Whether it's ads or the free pieces or part of your Google business profile or whatever these things are showing up, they're all over the place. It's taking up a significant chunk of search results for the space. So yeah, I agree. It's going to keep.
So let's talk about it for a minute from both points of view. The point of view of the operator, the experience creators that we talk to every day, and the point of view from the customer. So from the operator, and you talk to operators every day about what they should be doing better and more effectively with Google Things to Do. Yes, it's true. Globally, one of the foremost experts on how to use Google Things to Do for experience creators. So what is it you're finding? What are you telling them? What do they know? What don't they
know? What shocks me is the people that don't do anything. And this goes to, we always call it the kayak guy, right? The kayak guy being the long tail. It goes for the kayak guy who hasn't got time because he's out doing kayak tours every day and hasn't got time to do marketing. Just doesn't do the basics.
I just have to interrupt. Do you know what our first slogan was when we started Arrival in 2017 and we were thinking about things? It was get your head out of the kayak. We use that same example. We know you're a great operator of running rafting tours, kayak tours. Get your head out of the kayak, get into your office and figure out how to build your business and hire people to run your tours. So
right.
That's funny that you use that same same.
And we shouldn't pick on the kayak guy. I certainly don't mean it against kayak guys. They're definitely not worse than others, but some of them are actually great. But also there's some big companies, really big companies that, they're kind of watching to see where the space goes and not moving on it. And I'm looking, thinking, what are you doing? Why are you letting all this money go? It's going to the OTAs. So that always surprises me that people are not doing the basics, because sometimes the basics is really easy in this space. And then
what do you have any idea, Christian, what % of Google Things to Do business does end up going through the OTAs because they're the ones that have really figured it out and are leveraging it?
I mean, I don't have that data clearly, but if I just look at listings, I'd say OTAs altogether are probably getting 90%.
90% of listings when you
The big attractions directly are getting tons of clicks,
yeah,
because of the way that's positioned. But on the ads and on the kind of just the search for San Francisco tours as a search term, I'd say it's 90% going to OTAs.
I'm Bruce's Bicycle Tours from Boulder, Colorado. And I have, if you find me on Google Things to Do, you're going to find me via Viator and Get Your Guide. How are you going to advise me to change that?
Well, you need to go, you can do it for free on your Google business profile. You can go and set up your tour and add your products on the business profile. That'll get you some
Is that going to get me
visibility.
above the search and
On
wherever
your,
it is?
this gets complicated, needs a whole new show, but on your own business profile, you'll be at the top. That's the only place you're guaranteed to be at the top. On everything else, when I search for Denver bike tours, whatever, it's, you know, there's lots of rules applied to the algorithm, but you'll be up there with the OTAs. They won't be above you. You won't be above them. It'll be depending on other factors like reviews.
Okay, yeah,
But
we're not going to get that deep in. I
yeah.
mean, that you need to do a consult with every operator of how to take care of what they're doing, pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what percentage of operators that you talk to every day get it and are being able to take advantage of Google Things to Do?
My list is very biased, right? Because we talk to operators that reach out to us. A lot of the times want to. So my guess is that 5% of operators are doing anything at all in this space,
5%. Wow.
and not 5% of arrival attendees. Arrival attendees, again, there's bias in that list. You've paid money to go to Arrival, and you've chosen to learn, so you're going to be ahead of most of the others. But
So although, okay, let's talk about the arrival attendees, i.e. the more sophisticated, forward-thinking companies that are looking to grow their business. Where's that percent?
10, 15 maybe.
Oh, geez, so it's still super low.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's opportunity for you, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And us, definitely. Consumer side, how is Google Things to Do impacting? Okay, now I'm traveling in San Francisco. I pull out my phone and I want to do something. And I'm like, you know, I really want to go to Alcatraz. Now I know I need to do that in advance, but maybe I don't, right? So how do I, as a consumer, take advantage of Things to Do?
You don't need to know. You wouldn't even know what's happening if you're a consumer, right? Google changes every day. Results show differently. You've got a map one day, then you've got 4 products, then you've got companies, and the used to be the list of 10. It changes every day. So as a consumer, you just click on whatever which is what Google does, right? That they know the consumer. That's all they care about is the user. And if people click on these kind of links, then that's what they'll show more of. The one thing I like to say about Google Things to Do is it's quite an obvious evolution, really, of search, where people used to search for companies. You know, maybe used to search for Macy's and then go in and then choose some shoes, but people just want the shoes. So Google have learned that people actually don't want to find the bike companies in Denver, on Boulder. They first want to find tours in Boulder and show me the 20 tours that are available. Then I'll choose a company. I never heard of any of the companies.
Right.
So first show me the experiences. Then but I don't want to first land on your homepage and then drill down, and then I want to see the products available, which are the different tours. And Google's worked that out, obviously.
Have they gotten anywhere on
shopping.
Pure personalization or curation?
No.
No.
I don't think Google will ever personalize because they've got too much data, and we should talk about this for another show because I love the personalization, and I will get very anti personalization if we do a show on that because I think it's totally over.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about how AI is going to give us the personalization, agent, personalized agent.
I'll definitely do that at the same time.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to my number one. And I did divide number one into 3 because it is AI, generative AI, which somehow was only number 5 last year. But that's because I did this in late December. And we all remember that ChatGPT didn't even get launched until November 30th, right? So it was only a month in, and I put it at number 5 last year. Now it's number one, and I broke it into 3 different things. So number 1C, multimodal immersive tours. And a shout out to our friend Alex Bainbridge, who has taken a little bit of a leadership position on that. What he's doing, creating, AI generated tour guides, if you will. I think he's got a long way to go, but he's pushing on it. Is there anyone else doing the kind of thing that we know Alex is doing?
I wonder are doing the tour guide, AI tour guide.
Yeah.
I don't know where that product is. I think it's out, but it's been revamped.
Is it out? I mean, is that, I know about I Wander, obviously, and is it actually, like, can I go and download the app and use it?
I don't know. I did a demo, so I'm not sure
Okay.
if it's publicly available. I forgot the name of the company, the MIT guys that started the.
Yeah, did they go anywhere? Like, we read about them, and then
they raised money. I don't know if they've launched either. So yeah, I think this is going to keep happening. There's going to be a lot of noise in the space. I don't know if the product's going to work. Well, it's going to work. I don't know if people are going to buy it. I think my concern with this stuff is, end of the day, no matter how you create it and how cool it is up front and use the AI, which is definitely better than previous, you still end up with an audio tour. And audio tours are difficult to sell. So it's a really interesting space. I think, well, it is a topic that we should discuss and will keep being discussed.
Yeah.
I'm just not fully convinced how much of an impact they're going to have.
Well, I think if we have any belief in self-guided tours, and that also includes in a museum, right? Like the whole self-guided business has been around for ages. Walking through a museum, wearing a headset, hearing what you're looking at is part of this as well. And, by using AI, if I can say, well, I really care about the history side or the architecture side or, the religion side, whatever it might be, using AI would be able to give me and you a different experience on that same museum tour or city walking tour or whatever it is. And I just think that's super powerful, and someone's going to nail it, and then other people will nail it beyond them.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm from the hop on, hop off, right? And we do audio tours. That's what most of the tours are. And you driving through San Francisco, and they
suck.
This is Chase Center. This is where the Warriors won 6 out of the last 9 World Championships. You can keep it really topical. 6 out of 9.
And that would be something that in AI would appear on your tour because they know you're a Warriors fan, and it would not be on my tour, right? Because
absolutely, potentially,
4 or 5 years from now, when I can say I'm a Nuggets fan, so let's talk about how many times the Nuggets beat the Warriors on their home court, right? That would be how we would have different tours as we go by the court, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next part of generative AI, customer experience. What are your thoughts around that? Or what
does that mean?
Talk about what that means a little bit more, right? So what I was thinking about when I wrote that and talking about the customer experience side is, pre-trip, during trip, post-trip, really as simple as, let's call it chat, right? Like with using generative AI, there are companies out there like Satisfied Labs, like Thomas, like Curated Planet, who are providing really smart chat technology, whether it's messaging through WhatsApp, Messenger, text, so that the company can talk to not just the customers, but right now I'm saying customer experience. Like, don't forget your tour leaves in an hour and we're picking you up here. Or, whoops, we have a traffic issue. This road's closed. We're picking you up there. Like that kind of tech, pre, during, post, to me is a huge implication and application for generative AI.
Yeah, 100%. This is probably the easiest to see application. Well, maybe your A is going to be. But this is going to take over all of that customer service. It's so, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's so natural to inject AI into those conversations. The hardest bit is the infrastructure, right? Is working with the res text or your current live chat platform or your texting. But everything is going to end up with AI conversations. We could talk about agents and all that other stuff, but this is not going to stop. Every company, never mind just travel, is going to end up with AI conversations as part of that process.
Yeah. Okay, so no argument there. Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my number 1A, so staying on Gen AI, and this is a shout out to you on a project we just worked on for Felta Ireland, actually. And I'm going to share screen here for a minute and show the article on Arrival that talks about this top 10. So number 1A, content generation. And you did something really cool in this, Christian. You can see, like I said, in the article, I gave you a good shout out. You use Bing Image Creator, and your prompt was modern red hop on, hop off, open top, double decker sightseeing bus in Dublin. Bus is full of happy tourists sitting down, blue sky with white fluffy clouds. The brand is Dublin Tours. And this is what you got. Probably took about, 5-10 seconds at the most for Bing Image Creator to give you back this, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah, if we're talking specifically images, that's new. So the latest version of this on Bing, which is DALL-E 3, which is OpenAI, this came out in September. That's close. I mean, you can still tell that's AI generated, obviously, if you're going to sit and stare at it, but it's a really good image. You can create images which are good to post. Now, I did some work with City Sightseeing San Antonio actually for the same report, and he posted images on his website immediately. So images you can create today, and they're good to post on your website. I don't know if that means you should. I don't know if you care if people can tell they're AI generated, but that's the difference versus a year ago. Images now are postable. You could use them on socials. Is a bit more of a discussion whether you should do that, because socials has an implication where there's a assumption that they're authentic. Obviously, this is not authentic, but they're a good depiction of what your product is. But same for text. You can generate really good text descriptions. So, and this is today, right? So you can do all of this stuff today with today's technology.
Yeah. And my 1A, to be clear, is not just images. And I don't know where we are with video yet. I don't think we're really there.
Not quite there, you know.
But content generation overall, which most people, I mean, that's kind of the lowest hanging fruit, is text, people using it to generate content. What do you see as some of the best practices of that?
Yeah, I mean, text, you just, I think the number one thing people need to do on text is just go in and use it and broaden what you're trying to do with it. Really open up. I love to do strategy. Tell it to create me a business plan, create me a marketing plan, create a social media plan. Tell it to create all this stuff. This stuff's really creative, and
How do you get enough prompts to do that?
You just write them. You just make them up, and then it didn't work, and let me go in this direction instead. That prompt I did for the double-decker bus was a bit weird, right? A bus full of happy people sitting down, because when I did it the first time, you just do double-decker bus in Dublin. Then it gives you some old vintage bus. So okay, now I've got to put modern bus. Then it gives you a bus empty of people. So now you've got to put sitting down people in it. Now they're miserable, so you got to tell them to be happy. You learn how to do that stuff, and you learn what it's looking for, and then you realize that's actually what describes the photo.
What's the resource? Is there a resource you would recommend for how to build good prompts? That's a tough question, I know. But
yeah, a single resource, no. But if you do a search on that, or I've got a YouTube, and I research this all the time. There's a ton of good. Actually, OpenAI's got some good education on this, on how to do their prompts for ChatGPT
on their website.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it, 1 through 10, with 1 being ABC. Any overview comments or? No,
last thing, because I love the AI subject. Video, I think, is not there yet, and I watch too much of this stuff on YouTube. And what is interesting to me is so many of these conversations, people say, "Oh yeah, but you're looking at a version that's 6 months old." And but that was last September. So what can it do now? Right. And that's where we're at, right? We're at the point now where you can make a little video for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, just about indistinguishable now. Images weren't 6 months ago. So who knows? Video in 6 months, we might be talking about making 1 minute, 2 minute videos that you cannot tell is not real.
Yeah, right.
And that's how fast this stuff's moving. And yeah, it's not going to stop.
So what's the one thing I missed in my top 10 that you would say, dude, you missed it, and we'll talk again in a year and it's going to be in the top 2 or 3 or top 5.
Yeah, I should have thought about that. I wish I should have thought about that. I think that maybe company disruption. I think maybe that's because of AI. Part of what makes me think about that, I hate to talk about Elon because Elon upsets people these days, but when Elon slashed 80% of Twitter, some people say Twitter's terrible and it's full of this and it's full, but as a platform, it works still. It's still popular, maybe not with advertisers, but the platform works despite having 80% fewer people. And I think if a company like Twitter can do that, I think most companies can also do that. I think we also learned that during COVID, that you can actually do a lot more with a lot less. And I think AI is just gonna feed into that, right? A lot of big companies, less on the experiences side because we're more smaller companies, but small companies now can do a lot more with a lot fewer people, so they can compete with the big guys more. And these big guys, I think, are gonna have to, well, they're gonna become more productive, so they can either grow or they can do the same with fewer people.
Controversial take. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people sending us nasty letters to our customer service department, which is customer service at Experience.This.Travel.
Right. Good luck getting that email.
And anyone who is still listening at this point, I'm sure is going to send us some notes. So listen, my friend, that was always, as always, it was great. Sorry we had to lose Lori to her call since we got a late start, but we'll continue the discussion. So thanks, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. Take care, everyone.